Have you ever looked back at your life and thought, if only I had done that differently? As we grow older, these thoughts creep in more often. Not because we regret our entire lives, but because certain choices, often small at the time, end up having massive consequences later. The truth is, aging itself doesn't ruin your happiness or health. It's the subtle mistakes we make along the way that quietly chip away at both. Maybe it's skipping that morning walk, avoiding a doctor's appointment, or deciding not to call a friend back. Each seems harmless in the moment, but over the years they snowball into loneliness, poor health, and a life that feels smaller than it should. And here's the hardest part. Most of us don't even realize we're making these mistakes. They don't come with a loud warning bell or flashing sign. They creep in quietly. Until one day, we wake up wondering where our energy, our joy, and our sense of purpose went. That's why in this video, we're exposing 5 huge mistakes people commonly make in old age that can slowly, but surely, destroy their happiness and health. We'll break down how these mistakes happen, why they're more common than you think, and most importantly, how to avoid them starting today. So if you care about your future, your independence, and living with purpose in your later years, stay with us until the end. And while you're here, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. We're here every week with insights that matter to your well-being. Let's dive in, starting with mistake number 1. Mistake number 1, neglecting physical health. One of the most damaging, and unfortunately most common, mistakes people make as they age is neglecting their physical health. And it rarely starts with a major health crisis. It usually begins with something subtle. Skipping your morning walk just once, grabbing a microwave dinner instead of cooking, sitting a little longer than usual, telling yourself you'll exercise tomorrow. But here's the truth. Tomorrow often never comes. Over time, these small choices become patterns, and those patterns silently take their toll. Your muscles weaken, your balance suffers, your energy drops. Before long, you find yourself out of breath, climbing stairs, struggling to get out of a chair, or afraid of slipping in the shower. The most tragic part? Many people accept this decline as just part of aging. But that's a myth. In reality, a huge portion of the physical decline we associate with old age is actually caused by inactivity and poor habits, not age itself. Take Henry, for example. At 74, he considered himself relatively healthy, but after a minor knee ache, he stopped walking daily. Weeks turned into months, and he soon found even short walks exhausting. By the time he tried to get back into it, he had lost a significant amount of strength, and rebuilding it was slow, painful, and frustrating. He later said, "I didn't know I was losing it until it was almost gone." And it's not just exercise. Nutrition matters more now than ever. As you age, your body needs more protein to preserve muscle, calcium for bone strength, and fiber for digestion. Living on toast, snacks, and coffee just won't cut it anymore. Add to that the habit of skipping doctor checkups, and you've got a recipe for avoidable health crises. But the good news is, it's never too late to start. Even 15 minutes of movement a day, switching to whole foods, and booking that checkup can change your life. If this resonates with you, drop a comment below with the number 1 to let us know you're still watching and ready to prioritize your health. Mistake number 2, isolating from friends and family. One of the quietest but most heartbreaking mistakes people make in their later years is pulling away from others. It rarely starts with an intentional decision. Maybe you skip a dinner invite because you're tired. Maybe you stop calling because you assume they're too busy. Then a week goes by, then a month. And suddenly, you realize it's been ages since you've had a real conversation. Many seniors fall into this trap without even realizing it. They say, "I don't want to be a burden," or "they'll call me if they need me." But the reality is, connection isn't just nice. It's necessary. Loneliness doesn't just make you sad. It can actually damage your health. In fact, studies show that chronic social isolation increases the risk of heart disease, weakens the immune system, and even raises the chances of cognitive decline, as much as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Let me tell you about Martha, a 77-year-old widow from Arizona. For years, she had been the heart of her friend group. But after her husband passed, she slowly began declining invitations, avoiding phone calls, and spending her days with just the TV for company. She convinced herself it was easier that way. But over time, her energy dropped. Her memory became foggy. Her motivation to do anything, cook, walk, even shower, slipped away. Everything changed when her niece invited her to a community gardening group. At first, she was hesitant, but by the second visit, she was laughing, chatting, and looking forward to the next meetup. She later said, "I didn't realize how lonely I'd become until someone pulled me out of it." Social connection doesn't always mean having a full calendar. It means having someone to talk to laugh with, to feel seen by. Whether it's old friends, new neighbors, or even learning to use FaceTime to call your grandkids, don't isolate yourself. If this speaks to you, drop a 2 in the comments below. And remember, your voice, your presence, still matter more than you know. Mistake number 3, refusing to adapt to change. Another silent mistake that slowly robs seniors of joy, connection, and independence is this: resisting change. And who could blame you? After all, when you've lived a certain way for decades, it's natural to feel frustrated, or even resentful, when everything around you starts evolving. But here's the hard truth: the world keeps moving, whether we're ready or not. And refusing to adapt doesn't stop it. It just leaves you behind, disconnected, overwhelmed, and often misunderstood. Take Stanley, a retired engineer from Michigan. At 79, he was sharp, capable, and proud. But he hated the idea of smartphones. "Too complicated," he'd grumble. When his daughter suggested using a tablet for video calls, he brushed it off. "Just call the landline." But slowly, things changed. His doctor's office switched to an online appointment system. His bank began requiring digital verification. His grandkids started sending family photos in a group chat, one he wasn't part of. He didn't realize how isolated he'd become, until one day he missed his granddaughter's graduation because the invitation came via email. That moment hit hard. Eventually, with some help, Stanley gave technology another shot. He learned to navigate email, joined a Facebook group for retirees, and now hosts a monthly Zoom trivia night. What once seemed threatening became a source of fun and connection. But resisting change isn't just about tech. It can mean clinging to outdated eating habits, refusing to modify your home for safety, or dismissing new medical advice simply because it's different from what your generation was taught. It also affects relationships. Today's younger generations communicate differently, think differently. Holding on to how things used to be can create distance unless you're willing to meet them halfway. Adapting doesn't mean giving up who you are. It means evolving with grace, so you can stay engaged, respected, and independent. If this resonates with you, drop a 3 in the comments. And remember, flexibility isn't weakness. It's the secret to staying strong in a changing world. Mistake number 4, mismanaging finances. Let's talk about something few like to admit, but many silently suffer from: Financial mismanagement in old age. It's easy to assume that once you're retired and the paycheck stops coming, your spending will naturally slow down. But the truth is, expenses don't retire. In fact, in many cases, they grow. Between rising healthcare costs, home maintenance, unexpected emergencies, and inflation, your savings can disappear faster than you think. And that's exactly what happened to Franklin, a 73-year-old retired school principal from Oregon. He had done everything right: a solid pension, decent savings, no debts. But once retired, he began spending freely, taking cruises, buying gifts for his grandkids, treating friends to dinners. After all, he'd earned it, hadn't he? But by age 78, things started unraveling. His wife fell and needed in-home care, medical equipment, prescriptions, renovations to make the bathroom safer. All of it added up. Fast. Franklin realized too late that he hadn't planned for the kind of longevity that came with expensive price tags. Eventually, he had to ask his son for financial help, a conversation he said was more painful than any physical injury. Sadly, Franklin's story isn't rare. Many seniors assume they don't need to budget anymore. Others avoid looking too closely at their bank accounts out of fear. And far too many fall victim to scams and financial predators, phony calls, deceptive emails, and even manipulative advisors offering too-good-to-be-true investments. So what's the solution? It's not about hoarding money. It's about being smart, proactive, and protective. Create a realistic budget. Track your monthly expenses. Plan for possible long-term care. Stay informed about scams. And when in doubt, ask a trusted family member or certified advisor to review major decisions with you. Financial freedom isn't about being rich. It's about feeling secure, knowing that you're in control, and that your independence won't be taken away by one avoidable mistake. If this struck a chord, comment 4 down below. And remember, a wise plan today can mean peace of mind tomorrow. Mistake number 5. Ignoring mental growth and purpose. One of the most overlooked, but deeply life-altering mistakes people make in their later years is giving up on growth and losing their sense of purpose. It doesn't always happen all at once. Maybe you retire after 40 years of hard work. At first, the free time feels like a blessing, but slowly, days blur together. You stop setting goals. You stop learning new things. You start asking yourself, what now? And without realizing it, you begin drifting, mentally, emotionally, and even physically. Let me tell you about Gloria, an 80-year-old former librarian from Vermont. After retirement, she found herself filling her days with television and crossword puzzles. She told herself she was resting, but the truth was, she was stuck. Conversations started feeling foggy. She forgot names more often. She avoided outings because she didn't feel sharp enough anymore. Then one day, her grandson gave her a watercolor set for her birthday. At first, she laughed it off. "I've never painted a thing in my life." But out of boredom, she tried it. That one afternoon turned into a weekly habit. Then she joined a senior art group at the community center. And slowly, her spark came back. She had something to look forward to, a reason to get up in the morning, and a new way to express herself. Here's the truth. Your brain doesn't stop growing unless you stop using it. Reading, learning a new skill, trying a new hobby, even mentoring younger people can keep your mind sharp, your mood elevated, and your body energized. And having a purpose, whether it's nurturing a garden, teaching a class, or writing your life story, gives every day direction and meaning. You are not too old to grow. You are not too late to start something new. The only thing that holds you back is believing that you're done. If you're still with us, drop a 5 in the comments to let us know you're ready to keep learning and living with purpose. Because your best chapter might still be waiting to be written. Final thoughts. Conclusion. Now that we've explored the 5 biggest mistakes people often make in old age, neglecting physical health, isolating from loved ones, resisting change, mismanaging finances, and abandoning personal growth, it's time to pause and reflect. Which one spoke to you the most? Here's the good news. It's never too late to take control of your future. You don't need to make drastic changes overnight. Often, the most powerful shifts come from the smallest steps. Choosing a walk instead of the couch. Making that phone call you've been putting off. Learning something new just for the joy of it. Aging doesn't mean fading, it means evolving. You've lived through decades of experience, challenges, and triumphs. That wisdom is powerful. But the years ahead can be just as full, if you choose to stay engaged, stay open, and stay intentional. You still matter. Your story isn't finished. And whether you're 60, 70, 80, or beyond, you have the power to shape how the next chapter unfolds. So here's what we'd love from you. Leave a comment below sharing one change you're going to make today, big or small. And if you found this video helpful, please hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you won't miss any future videos. We're here every week with honest, uplifting content to help you live a longer, stronger, and more meaningful life. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. Remember, your best years aren't behind you. They're still ahead. And we can't wait to walk that journey with you.